faceoff. Shoots it deflected right in. Pietrangelo save rebound. Stastny stopped by Pietrangelo. I don't believe that save. Neither does Peter Stastny. He can't believe the save that Pietrangelo just made on him as Frankie Sparkly. Now that maneuver there to stop and rob Peter Stastny. He should get 5 to 10 for that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tendy Talk, the first episode of the new year. I am your host Joe, better known as Washed Up Goalie on social media. You probably noticed I didn't release an episode last week. With the new year, I figured most people were probably busy getting back into the swing of things at work and whatnot, and the last thing you needed was another podcast episode to catch up on. I'm excited for what 2021 has in store for Tendy Talk. I've been busy lining up some guests for the first few months of the year that I'm pretty excited about, and instead of recording a few episodes at a time like I was, I'm recording one episode a week, the week before it airs. This will give me the opportunity to be a little more relevant in some of the discussion topics with different folks, and I think it'll improve the podcast. This week I talked to Matt Schnoes of the Gold Crease Guardian Instagram account. Matt reached out to me after listening to a few episodes of the podcast, which was awesome. I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to Matt, as he was a fun goalie to swap stories with, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Matt, thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Joe. I'm really excited to be on. I've been listening to the podcast. I saw it on Instagram, I think, and I've been listening since the beginning, so I'm glad I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, me too. It's been a fun journey. It's hard to believe already that I've got this will be my 19th episode, first one of 2021. So I'm pretty excited, and I got a couple of things I'm working on here for the new year. So hopefully it continues to go in the direction it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my first video of 2021 out a couple days ago, and it was a bit of a mad dash, but it turned out pretty good at least. So
yeah, well, rinks here in Minnesota just opened up on the 4th. So I haven't gotten that first skate in yet because leagues haven't started up yet, and it doesn't look like my team's going to play in the winter season because in Minnesota they're mandating we wear masks while we play, and it's not that my teammates are against wearing masks. They're just not in the physical shape to wear a mask and play.
No, I get that. So I do a little bit of coaching still on the side, and just being out there coaching in your mask is tougher than you think. And so my team, my normal league, the Seals, we aren't playing right now because our league got canceled 4 weeks in.
Mm-hmm.
I got 4 games in, and then a couple of the teams just weren't following the rules. It's a city rink, so they shut it down. They were like, we can't do this, which I get. Like, if guys aren't going to follow the rules, you gotta cancel it. You gotta have consequences. So I'm trying to sub for I played out for 2 years for a team coming out of college, and like I'm subbing for them. Anybody that sends me a text message at this point, I'm like, just get me on the ice. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited. I'm slated to play in an outdoor tournament in I think
That's
it's
cool.
2 weeks. I played in it last year. It's the guys from For the Love of Puck, and it's a lot of fun. Last year it was at an awesome park in St. Paul, Groveland Park. I don't know why, but they're not having it back there this year. It's a different rink. Either way, it'll still be fun. I think the only drawback is the rink last year was right down the block from a bar, and me and one of the other goalies walked down to the bar in full equipment and settled up to the bar and order ourselves some beers. So
that's awesome.
I don't know if we'll be able to recreate that this year because this rink is a little further away from such establishments.
Yeah, I don't think that I would be able to do that where our outdoor rinks are. I've actually never played outside.
Really?
I've done like pond hockey and stuff in a buddy's neighborhood, but I've never played an outdoor game.
Okay.
We have a tournament down in Clark Park in Detroit every year that team that I skate out for did last year. So I was going to try and set up the Seals for it, and they're not doing it this year with everything going on. And Michigan's kind of strict on the restrictions right now. So there's no way to get it done, which stinks. So I'm going to have to wait another year to make my outdoor debut.
Yeah, I first started skating outdoors. I was about junior high, freshman year of high school. I grew up in Chicago, and the Chicago Park District put outdoor rinks into just a
Mhm.
handful of parks, and one of them was right in my neighborhood. And I mean, they went all out. They put refrigeration systems
Oh,
in,
wow.
boards, zambonis, warming house, everything, and got quite a bit of skating in there because a good friend of ours who actually got me into hockey, the group he skated with, they would always get ice time and they needed a goalie. So, it's a bunch of 40-year-old plus guys skating, and they called me to play. So I would. And there was the another fine little establishment across the street, TR's Pub, and mom and dad knew we were going to be done at a certain time. So they went up there and
Mhm.
carried the bag. After I got undressed, carried the bag across the street, threw it in the back of the car, and went into the bar with our friend and saw mom and dad, and they already had a root beer waiting for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But now here in Minnesota, I mean, we have ponds and rinks everywhere.
Mhm.
This year I have my own backyard rink, and
Yeah, I saw the pictures of that online. It looks fantastic.
yeah, I'll probably be doing some flooding tonight when we're done recording because it needs it. But it's crazy how many more backyard rinks I've seen this year because of uh, rinks being shut down, and
Mhm.
kids just wanting to skate, and dad's going, well, now's the year to do it.
Right? And I'm surprised I haven't seen a lot of that in Michigan. I live in a condo complex, so there's no real space for it. But
Yeah.
even driving around like my parents' subdivision, there's not a whole lot of that. So I'm a little surprised. Maybe if I got out further towards Brighton and all those areas where they've got yards, I
Yep.
might see a little bit more.
Well, maybe you just need to talk to some of your condo neighbors, and because condo
We're just gonna
developments
put one
always,
up right here.
well, they always have kind of that nice little greenway, between the
Yeah.
houses. You could definitely do something.
I could either do it right in front, or there's a dentist office right back there and there's a big like green space out there. Maybe I'll just talk to the dentist office and see if they want to go halvesies on an outdoor rink.
Well, yeah, because that might generate business for them. So I
Exactly.
don't see why they wouldn't want to. Uh, so I did do some homework and had some questions written up, so I
Yeah,
might as well get
absolutely.
into them. Uh, Judging by your hat and that terrible Red Wings bear in the background.
It's a fox, actually.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter. It looks ridiculous with that jersey on. um, as I'm a Hawks fan. I'm guessing you're located in Michigan, judging by the hat too, with the mitten
Yup.
up there. Whereabouts in Michigan are you?
So I'm in Plymouth. If you know, USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth is like 10 minutes from my house.
Okay,
I grew up going to Plymouth Whalers games there actually before the NTDP team was there. So I grew up watching Michael Neuver, Ryan Nye, Jason McCashua at Plymouth Whalers games in the
very good.
O. So that was cool. I actually
So,
went to the last ever Whalers game against Erie when McDavid was there.
oh, cool. So on the mitten, whereabout is Plymouth?
Let's see if this is the state. I'm like down in here
Okay,
somewhere.
so
So
southeast corner, a little
yeah,
south of
southeast
Detroit.
corner, half an hour from Detroit, half an hour from Ann Arbor. It's like right in between the two. So
Okay. All
mhm.
right. So I'm going to guess you played high school hockey in Michigan. Did you ever play Brother Rice in hockey?
So I actually didn't play for my high school.
Oh, okay.
No, I played juniors all through high school in a debunked junior C league now. It's really exciting. Um, I think I played in that league every year it existed, which I'm not sure if I should be proud of or disappointed by. but
Okay.
um, but I know guys that went to or played against Brother Rice.
Okay.
Brother Rice, CC, like those are the two big like high school programs, and then Brighton is
Yeah,
the other one.
I asked about Brother Rice because I actually went to their brother school, Brother Rice Chicago.
Oh, did you really?
And we were always a little bummed that they held the title of largest all boys school in the nation because we were number two, not far behind them. And we felt we should have the title because we had the largest all girls school right next door.
Oh yeah.
So, it, interestingly enough, though, the only classes that overlapped between those two schools was band and mechanical drawing. So, if you didn't play an instrument, you sure took mechanical drawing so you could
Yeah, of
have a
course.
co-ed, at least one co-ed class over those 4 years.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't think any of the Catholic schools around here do overlapping courses that I know of.
Yeah.
From what I remember, the high school seems like a long time ago now.
Yeah, and the only reason they did it, band, it made sense. You could have one big
Yeah,
band.
absolutely.
I felt bad for the girls though in the winter because they had to walk across the parking
Mhm.
lot in their skirts and the cold and to come to class. Um,
Yeah. So that sounds a little bit. So I went to a high school called Plymouth Canton in Salem. It's 3 high schools on one campus, and at the longest point, there's 4 buildings. Canton has a separate gym, but
mhm.
at the longest point, your walk from the Canton gym to its A pod in Plymouth is mile, like,
Oh boy.
or no, a half a mile, I think. But it's like all conditions. You walk between all 3 schools. You've got 10 minutes. There's 6,000 kids. My high
Oh
school was bigger than my college. Like,
yeah.
so it was a weird experience.
That was the same for me, and it was funny telling people that my high school was bigger and it was only boys, and they're like,
Yeah,
"What,
yeah,
really?" It was like, "Yep, yeah, we had a lot of kids in my class, and you probably experienced the same thing. You go to college and you got kids that grew up on a farm that maybe
oh
had
yeah,
25 kids in their whole
yeah,
school,
absolutely.
and it's like we had more than that in our classroom."
But or the ones that were homeschooled around there because that was like the best way for them to get schooling, and it's like, yeah, it's a totally different animal.
Yep.
I went to a school that was so small. I mean, I would walk across campus all the time, and in the same amount of time, I would walk across high school. It was
Yeah,
wild.
exactly. So, um, that's interesting that your school is so small because I've got some questions about that later. But
Hmm.
being from Michigan, hockey is big there, just like it
Oh
is
yeah,
in Minnesota. Really the whole upper Midwest now, it's big. Even in
it
Chicago. I mean,
is.
when I grew up, we had our diehard hockey community, but it's nothing like it is today, thanks to the Blackhawks and their run the past decade. How
Don't
did
talk
you?
about that run.
Hey, I can because I had to deal with the Red Wings for so long.
Okay, I
Um,
guess that's fair. Yeah.
but God, some of those epic Hawks Wings battles in the
Hmm.
mid '90s. I'm so excited for this year, hoping because both teams are so terrible this year.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe it'll
hoping
look good.
at least I'm hoping some of that rivalry comes back.
I would love to see it. I
I know
really
they're
would.
trying to get rid of fighting in the game, but to see some of that bad blood where it's
Hmm.
not fighting for the show, it's fighting because they hate each other. That
Exactly.
that's the fun part of hockey.
Oh yeah.
Um, but how did you get roped into playing hockey? What got you excited about it?
So it's funny, like when my parents have told me the story when I was like 2 or 3, I got my first like little play school hockey set. And instead of being a sane child, and shooting pucks at the net or shooting balls at the net, I immediately got in net and asked people to shoot at me. So
Yeah.
that was probably the first indication that it was a bit of a problem. my I grew up the Wings, so they won their first cup when I was 5, then when I was 6. So I grew up watching
Yes.
yeah. So I grew up watching I'm watching the Stanley Cup 97, 98 videos, Osgood, Vernon, just
Yeah.
loving it, and then they win again in '02 with I'm going to maintain the best team of all time. And by that point I was 10. So I was really getting into the hockey, like let me play hockey. And so my parents got the brilliant idea of we're going to have them play roller because if they don't like roller, it's not that expensive and we can get them out of it and maybe
Yeah.
get them into something cheaper.
Yep.
But so we ended up playing roller. My brother and I played at a place called Skating Station 2. Not it's Skating Station 2, very important. And so we started playing there on a wood floor with the like your old school like roller rink,
Hmm.
and we'd play like half rink and played there for a little bit. I started out as a forward. I was terrible. My brother actually played goalie first, and then when it was like halfway through the game, he wasn't doing that great. I volunteered to go in. I didn't have a goalie glove on. I had my player chest protector on. I put the pads on and a blocker and used a player stick. And from that point on, I kept bugging my parents, like, let me play goalie. Let me play
Yeah.
goalie. So
Yeah.
the next season rolls around, whatever it is, and they get me like these Franklin Street hockey pads. I jump in net. I have a great time. I think I played for about a year in roller before they were finally like, okay, he's kind of serious about this.
Yep.
Let's get him some pads. Let's get him some skates. He'll play. And I ended up starting in Plymouth in the house league for my second. It would have been my second year of squirt. Was my first year of ice hockey, any competitive ice hockey, and then from there, I just like you couldn't get me off the ice.
Yep. I like that you guys had house league hockey out there because we had that in Chicago too. And to me, that's one thing Minnesota's missing. It's just
Mhm.
all travel hockey. And they'll say, well, your C level team is kind of the house league. It's like, yeah, but you're still going up to Duluth on the weekends and going out to
Exactly.
Fargo. It's like you need a good, healthy house league. And because there's a lot of those younger kids. My son's a perfect example. He doesn't want to be skating 6, 7 nights a week, but he still
No.
wants to play.
Exactly.
He wants to play for the fun of it. I'm a huge advocate for house league hockey or just house league sports in general.
Yeah, just give kids something like just give them a place to play, whether like they don't have to travel, they just want to
Yeah,
play around a little bit. Like it's perfect. I coached for a while and it was one of those things where like I would see kids 2 times in a week sometimes and it was their fourth practice or third practice of
yeah,
the week and I'm like at they're 12 years old, at some point they're going to get sick of it.
yep. Well, and I've always said the cream always rises to the top.
Oh yeah,
If
of
they're
course.
a good hockey player, it doesn't matter if they play C level, A level, or house league. By the time it matters, people are going to know who they are. I mean,
Mhm.
you played house league, I played house league, we both played college hockey. Perfect
Exactly.
example. Um, it's just I think you'd see numbers be a lot higher in for participation if we had more of that. Again, across all sports.
I think so. I think that if you give people a place to play
Hmm.
where it's not expensive, you don't have to travel a lot. Like that's why basketball is so great for youth.
Yep.
Baseball is good for youth. Like you go to a place and there's like 8 courts there. There's
Yeah.
there's the softball center by me with like 16 diamonds and it's packed every week. Like you don't have to go anywhere to play.
Right. Well, we have the super rink here that has 8 sheets of ice.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to have.
Literally you could have a night dedicated to your house league where it's like 2 nights a week. You practice Mondays, you play Fridays,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you got 8 or 16 teams in there. It's not a problem.
Yeah. So you start playing. You're playing house league hockey. How did the rest of that journey go? You mentioned you played junior C at the high school
Hmm.
level. Um,
So, so I kind of worked up through travel. I played mostly double A in and around everywhere. I was kind of that goalie that was always jumping from team to team. I was usually giving my parents at least a half an hour drive to practice every day. I would like to apologize for that now. But I played all over the place. I was always trying to break into AAA. I never really did it for whatever reason. Looking back, I probably just wasn't good enough for one reason or another, but hey, that's
mhm.
what happens, right? I grew up, I'm the same age as Jack Campbell. He played AAA around here. Charles Williams is playing professionally from around here. Ty Marble is playing like there's 4 or 5 goalies from around this area or that played in this area growing up that are the same age as me. That's like, yeah, you probably weren't as good as them right away. You started at
Mhm.
11. So, so I kind of worked through that. I ended up, when I was 15, I played for the Motor City Chiefs. It was a AAA team, but it wasn't in the like big boy AAA with Victory Honda and CompuWare. It
Mhm.
was in the other one.
Yep. Yeah, I actually
So,
have a friend. Their son's playing for CompuWare this year.
yep. So we played in that other league back then. I don't even remember what it was called. We played like Pittsburgh and all those teams.
Hmm.
And we were 18U AAA. I'm 15. We had about 14 guys on the team. So we didn't have a real full roster. We had 3
Yep.
goalies. Halfway through the year, one of them got hurt. So I was playing a ton. I remember one game against Pittsburgh. I faced 70 something shots, got a net dropped on the back of my head and faced a penalty shot. The next time we played them in Pittsburgh, I think I faced 85. Like we were getting shelled. I'm just facing tons of shots. I was having a great time. And it was just a great learning experience. Like I saw a lot of pucks. And
It's
from there, it just kind of went up.
it's funny how we look back on those experiences because my freshman sophomore year of high school, we went a combined 138 and 1 in league play.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, 50 shots a game was normal.
Yeah.
And I remember games just feeling down about the final score. But when I look back at the stats, I'm like, that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I remember my first college game because, I was used to 40 plus shots a game
Yep.
by the time I got to be a senior. And we're playing 17-minute periods. And then my first college game, it's a 20-minute period. And I saw 22 shots all game. And my teammates were like, what did you think? It's like, I was bored.
Oh yeah. So it's funny because I grew up so I had my house team was decent. Beyond that, none of my teams were really that good. So I'd get shelled a lot, face a lot of shots. Then I go to that AAA team. We're still facing a lot of shots. The next year, the team ended up creating a junior C team in what was called the GLJHL. It was brand new league starting up right around. It was Chicago had a team. There were a few teams around me. There were a few teams in more northern Michigan. And so I'm like, perfect. This is junior C. I'm 16 years old. Like, this is great. The team was okay. Like, we faced a lot of shots. I didn't have a great year, but it went well, right? Like, it wasn't terrible. The next year I went to I got cut, went to the Michigan Ice Dogs in that same league and ended up playing for them for 3 years. And that was the first good team I had been on since I was 11. So like the Ice Dogs, the first year was kind of shaky. We went like 500. Then the next year we went to junior nationals. Like we had a pretty good team. I'm still like 3 of my best friends were on that team those first 2 years. And like we were good then. So that was the first experience I had with being on a good team. So, and even then, like I was facing 40 shots a game, but I love it. I still love it to this day.
Yeah, it's funny. My beer league team, I joke with my teammate who got me on the team because we played college hockey together, and he was kind of our ringer who would just sit on the blue line, and he would only shoot if we needed a goal late in the game.
Absolutely.
He was the good ringer on the team who's not just going to light it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe I've told the story on the podcast. I move into the community I'm in now, and first national night out, he gets off the fire engine and looks at me. He's like, "What are you doing here?" It's like, "I live here. What are you doing here?" It's like, "Well, I live like half a mile from here." And we get talking. He goes, "Yeah, a bunch of guys on the department, they've got a beer league team. If we need a goalie, do you want to play?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a team now." And so that fall, I got the phone call, and so my team is almost all firemen. We have one cop, the poor guy. He could pass the exam.
No.
But they say I fit in because my dad was a fireman for 30 years.
Yep.
And I went to work with them and all that stuff. So they're like, yeah, you're one of us. But I say I play in that league and on that team because I like the team. I could play higher. I have the skill, but I enjoy that team, and we're not very good. But because I'm used to that many shots, it works out for us.
Yeah.
We made it to the championship one year. That was it. Otherwise,
go.
we're kind of toward the middle to the bottom. But that's how it is. Gosh, the darn championship game. It was a 2-1 game going into the third, but we had 2 extra guys on the bench, and they had 3 full lines.
No.
And it just finally caught up to us in the third period. And I think the final score was, 5-2 or something. It's not like they blew us out of the water, but it was clearly we ran out of gas. And our leading scorer that year did show up. It's like the firepower just wasn't there. Like, it was like, oh my God. At the end of the day, we got to play as many games as we possibly could that year.
Exactly.
So you went and played junior C. and AAA during the high school years. Why did you choose to go that route instead of high school? Because I know Michigan's got some great high school hockey there too.
So at the time, high school hockey wasn't as good, and I'll be honest, my high school was terrible. Salem was really, really bad, and I didn't. I guess in retrospect, I probably would have gone into the same situation I was in, but I wanted to do something where I had a chance to win. And I thought juniors was the way to go to get myself to D1 college and all this stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, I had aspirations of playing pro hockey, at least in Europe.
Who
So
didn't?
like, yeah, exactly.
And honestly, if you don't have those aspirations when you're playing, I'm not going to say what's wrong with you, because you can still play for the love of the game.
Absolutely.
But as you start getting to those levels, I mean,
Yeah,
that should be your aspiration.
and that's the thing. If you're pushing that level of hockey, like why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
So I thought that junior league was kind of my first step to the NAHL and to NCAA D1 and then to pro somewhere. Like that was what I had kind of laid out as the path in my mind. And so I guess between Salem being bad at the time and and me just thinking that was the way to go, I decided not to,
Yep.
and that was just kind of the best way for me at the time. It worked out pretty well. It taught me a lot, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was the wrong decision.
No, that's awesome. My senior year of high school, I tried out for a junior B team like your league, it lasted 1 year. And it was one of those where every other team was sounding like Georgia, Florida, Alabama,
Mhm.
all down there. And then there was this one team up in Chicago. And I made the team, but because our travel would be so much more, the team would have 4 goalies instead of 3.
Yep.
So I'm looking at it and I'm going, depth chart, I'm probably number 2 or 3, to start. Practices were at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to have, I had it worked out with my school. They were going to let me start late and everything. That was fine, but I'm sitting there going, I don't know how this year is going to go with this new league. I could finish my senior year with all my friends.
Hmm.
And so I made that choice, and God, am I glad I did it. We didn't have a great season, but at least I got to play that last year with the teammates I had spent 3 years with. But again, it was a difficult decision, because it was the same things you're talking about. Do I go this junior route and maybe be seen by the NAHL or the USHL or some colleges? So for college, you stayed in Michigan.
I did, yes.
And you went to Adrian College. Couldn't have been too far from home for you.
Hour and 20. It's not that it's down over here.
Yeah, a little more central.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. But when I was looking on their website, they're interesting in that they have an NCAA team. Are they Division 3?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought so, because I played at St. Mary's and we were D3, and I know sometimes we would go to different. A lot of
Yep.
times
Yep.
we would go into Wisconsin, but every now and then Finlandia used to come play us all the time. They're from the UP.
Yep.
So Adrian has a D3 team in the NCAA, but right now, I don't know if it was the same when you were there. They have an ACHA team at all 3 levels. Was that the case
Yes.
when you were there?
So I went there and it was one ACHA D1 team and 2 D3 ACHA teams. They had the
Okay.
gold and the black. And at the time, gold had won 2 straight national championships. And my freshman year, they won a third. So yeah, I ended up at Adrian because coming out, I had gone to New Jersey and played for the
Mhm.
Titans before they had the NA team for my
Okay.
last year junior, and I didn't have a place to play. It was a bad year. We had 4 goalies. I was only good for like half of the year at best. Um, and so like nobody really wanted me on there, and I kind of get it. So I sent emails to everybody, and
Yep.
Adrian was one of the first to respond. They sent me to a spring preview day, and when I came back from the spring preview day, I was just like, yeah, I want to go there. So I ended up going and playing there, and I had to try out. So I was signed up to try out for every team at that school at that point. So I was gonna go to 3 tryouts basically. I was gonna try and get a tryout with the NCAA D3 team, the ACHA D1 team, and then the 2 D3 ACHA teams. And what ended up happening is I showed up to the D1 ACHA tryout. Their third goalie had decided, Frank Krupe, he actually runs the Hockey Illuminati
Oh, yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, he was the third goalie the year before. He had decided, look, I want to go to the D3 team. I want to do more with my broadcasting stuff because he was calling all the games.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to go down. So congratulations, you made the team. And then from there it kind of rolled.
So when I look at the setup they have there with 4 teams, some NCAA teams will have their varsity and their JV, or they'll have their NCAA team and one ACHA team.
Yeah.
And really the way I've seen those, that they operate very separate from each other. But it sounds like at Adrian, it's almost a little bit of a feeder system in a way. How is it having those 4 teams on campus, and is there player movement up and down?
So there's not really a ton of player movement between the ACHA and the NCAA teams. That's a lot of like the recruiting is separate, so it kind of works that way. The ACHA teams, there's a bit more movement. The coach that came in my senior year, Gary Estalos, really does a good job of recruiting for every team and getting the assistant coaches out to see players, and like they'll get a spot on one of the ACHA teams and then the tryouts kind of sort out who goes where. But the ACHA is fairly separate from the NCAA. Like we all get along, we all hang out, but as far as player movement and stuff, it's not really the same. It's funny because we have 4 guys teams on campus. There were 3 girls teams on campus by the time I left. And there was a big figure skating team too. So that rink, wow. So from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., pretty much every day there was practice. We practiced at 8 a.m. for the last 2 years or 3 years I was there. And like, it was always busy at that rink. Just Saturdays and Friday nights, Saturdays and Sundays, you'd be games from like 5 o'clock Friday or 7 o'clock Friday all the way until 3 o'clock in the afternoon is the last start on Sunday. Like it was always stacked up, but they've got such a great facility there. I mean, each team has their own locker room.
Oh, that's nice.
We had the big, NHL style stalls where we get to hang all our stuff and it looks cool and pretty.
Yeah.
And that was always fun. Our room was connected to the NCAA D3 room actually, and theirs is a little bit nicer, but it's not that different. Like they set it up to really make everything about the same. And if you go, like when you go to Adrian, we were talking before, like at Adrian, it's either farm, like a lot of people who grew up on the farm, a lot of homeschool people, or you're an athlete.
Yeah.
Like there's no in between. You're not like a normal just random student doesn't decide, hey, I'm going to go to Adrian College out in the middle of nowhere. Like you're either an athlete or you're from Adrian. There's no real other route to get to Adrian at this point. So it was always a ton of athletes. Everyone goes out and hangs out together and does all those things. So, and the cool thing was it like going to games. So the way the rink is set up above the benches is a restaurant with a bar. So Thursday night was always dollar beer night, and we would play on Thursdays. So the NCAA guys and all the other ACHA guys would show up, and the guys that are legal obviously they'd be having dollar beers and just hammering on the opposing bench, like just overhanging because it all opens up. They're just hammering on the opposing bench. It was awesome. Like
it's Davis Adolphus College in St. Peter, Minnesota. They have a neat setup where the stands are elevated.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
They're kind of elevated so that it's even with the top of the glass. So they had to they called it the spit guard over the visiting team penalty box because it was right by the student section. And of course you can imagine things that
God.
were, some of my teammates talked about the cups of chew that were
Oh
just
yeah.
chew spit that was thrown on them. So that they eventually put that up. And yeah, that was, I liked playing at that rink. I loved it and I
Mhm.
hated it. I hated the actual dimensions because it was smaller than
Oh yeah.
a
Yeah.
regular NHL rink. And we had an Olympic sheet at St. Mary's.
Mhm.
So it threw some things up, but I loved the atmosphere and the setup of it. And um, I didn't have great games there. I played okay, but
Mhm.
it was just one of those atmospheres where it was fun.
Yeah, that's if you've ever seen Miami, Goggin Ice Arena has a little overhang that's where the student section wraps around, so that
Yeah.
overhang is right behind the net. I went to a game when I was like 18 or 19 and the goalie was just getting pummeled. Miami was up like 7-1
Oh,
against Niagara or something like that, and the goalie was just getting hammered by the student section. It was fun.
yeah,
But
yeah,
on the separate ice sheet thing, that's always cool. I played at one in Canada when I was with the Titans. We went and did a little like preseason scrimmaging out there, and we played on one that felt like it was half the size of a normal rink. They
yep,
would come across the red line, and it was like they were at our blue line already. The behind the net was probably 5 feet.
yep.
It was wild. I wish that NHL teams got the flexibility to do that
Well,
a
they
little
used
bit
to.
more.
The
I
old
know.
Chicago Stadium was like that. The old, I think it was Ron Tugnan that I was talking to was talking about Boston Garden being like
Yep.
that. It's some of the stories of the old Chicago Stadium, and that building was just a gem.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Players are like, yeah, if you didn't have your head up going through the neutral zone, because it was about, they joke and exaggerate.
Mhm.
They're like, it was about 2 feet.
Yeah.
you know?
I
Yeah,
think I think that'd be cool. I think that it would let teams like build their team the way they want. If
yep,
Edmonton wants to make their stadium like Mariucci in Minnesota and just make it massive, like
yeah.
who's to say that why not? Let McDavid and Draisaitl just get all that extra space on the outside and see what the speed does.
Or at least give them the option to have the Olympic sheet.
I know, like
You know,
something like people talk about home ice not really being a thing, and I'm not sure. Like having played when there's fans around, like I don't know if I'd buy that, but
right. Home ice
like
back in the day was a thing because of the smaller dimensions.
exactly, and
I
I think
agree.
it'd
If
be
they
cool.
allowed some, here's as small and as big as you can go.
Hmm.
Anywhere in between, it's up to you.
Why not?
Yeah, I'd be for that. I like that idea.
I think
Uh,
that it'd be really cool in the
so
playoffs.
we were talking about smaller rinks. What I loved having the big ice at St. Mary's. Is
Hmm.
schools would come in and they're like, "Whew, this place is huge," but to us, it felt normal. And it was funny because last year, it was about this time of year, I got to skate at Mariucci.
Hmm.
Um, and I was sitting there going, it felt so, for whatever reason, it just felt bigger because
Yeah.
in the super rink where I skate, we do have Olympic sheets there.
Hmm.
But there was just something about it. I think it was, you're skating in an empty Mariucci with all those seats around you. And I think that was the biggest thing. And my only issue with Mariucci Arena was the benches were like higher than normal. Uh,
Okay, so I've seen that at a couple of
yeah,
like
so like,
at the Joe they used to have like your way high bench, and it's like what's the point of that? Like, are you trying to make guys fall off on the visiting bench? I don't quite understand.
well, it was on the home bench too. It's just both
Yeah,
of them. It's like it's not comfortable. I'd rather have a lower bench than a higher
I
bench.
know.
But I don't know. I'm sure somebody's got a reason for it. But I didn't like that. Um, so you go play hockey at Adrian, and
Mhm.
I think like most of us who go on and play college hockey, that's the end of the competitive line.
Yes,
Um,
yes, it was.
and I'll never forget my last game. Fortunately, we had won our JV championship.
Hmm.
So that was cool. But I knew it was the last game, and I just kind of sat there and kept the jersey on till
Yep,
I had
yep.
to, because we were playing at Augsburg College, which in the movie The Mighty Ducks, it's where they tie Goldberg to the net.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and that's another rink. I loved playing there for whatever reason. I had good games there, but the rink itself sucks.
Mhm.
There's 2 locker rooms instead of 4. So when you go on the ice, when you go there for beer league and whatnot, when you go on the ice, you got to bring your bag with you to the bench because the team coming on after you is going to be in the locker room. And
That's
um,
hilarious.
at least when we were there playing in college, I mean,
Yeah.
we have the rink at that point, so it
Yeah,
didn't
of
matter.
course.
But there's only like 1 or 2 shower heads and there's bathrooms there. So, we're not for the 2.5 hour bus ride back to Winona. We're all going to shower beforehand.
Oh, of course.
And so I was like, all right, I know I got at least a half hour before I got to start taking
Mhm.
my equipment off.
Mhm.
And so I just sat there. My coach kind of knew the feelings I was having, so he didn't say anything. But at one point, he kind of looks at me, and goes, "It's time to start taking it off." It's like,
Yeah.
I know. uh,
Yeah.
that was a tough one.
Yeah, at Adrian. So my freshman year, I played a ton. I came in, there were 2 senior goalies. One of them got hurt like the second weekend. And I had a good preseason and I just kind of rolled and just played really well. And it was
Yeah,
one of those situations where I'd come in and like there were no expectations. So who cares? I
yeah,
just kind of played and I stopped pucks and I had a great time.
yeah.
And then my next 3 years after that, I was a bit of a head case. Trying to recapture what I had done. And so
Yeah,
it didn't go as well. I still had a lot of fun. Still played quite a bit, had a good time. The teams were really good. We were ranked within the top 10, I think, almost the entire time I was at Adrian.
oh, nice.
So we were top 10 in the ACHA D1 the entire time. And like, it was a phenomenal time. And my senior year, by the end of my senior year, we had a freshman come in that year who had a really good year. I played about half the games in the first half, ended up in the stands for the second half of my senior year. So I had a lot of mixed feelings going through, obviously, like you want the team to do really well, but you're frustrated with your position.
Yep,
And so my last game was a weird one. We played Illinois State, who was a new program,
yep.
and beat them 13-1. So that was kind of typical of us at certain times. I think I faced like 20 shots. The only goal I gave up was I gave up a rebound on a 2-on-1 and the guy buried it backside, like, sure, whatever. And
Yeah.
the joke throughout my time at college was I couldn't keep a shutout to save my life. Literally no matter what happened, I would lose the shutout in the last 5 minutes of a game. Like it was
Yep.
clockwork. At some point in those last 5 minutes, something would happen and it's like, oh, Schnoes gave up a goal. Well, crap. And everyone would just like, you'd just laugh about it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I've got all, like all of my shutout pucks from my career over here and here.
Mhm.
I can't remember if it was my junior or my senior year, but they gave me this guy to prove like, hey, this is for every shutout that you've blown in the last 5 minutes of the game,
That's awesome.
which I thought was hilarious. But I mean, my last game, I got to play on senior night at Arrington. So it was phenomenal. My whole family came out. My then girlfriend, now fiance, came out. She came to a lot of games, actually. Good for her, because not always the most enjoyable.
Yeah,
as the goalie girlfriend.
it's funny you say that because my wife, she grew up in a household where her brother played hockey. He played junior hockey. He played for the Omaha Lancers and the Lincoln Stars, and then he went to North Dakota for a year, but was redshirted. So then he went to Augsburg, where he went to a Final Four. And so
Yep.
she'd had her fill of hockey, and then she meets me, and she's like, "Do you play hockey?" I was like, "Yeah." So she came to one game when we first started dating, and then by my senior year, she had transferred back to the Twin Cities, but for our red and white game, which is the end of tryouts, I was, I think, yeah, I was the only senior goaltender. Um, so I got the start, and mom and dad came down. So she came down for the weekend too. So I think those were the only 2 games she had watched me play up until a few years ago. Her and her brother's high school had an alumni game, and they needed a goalie. So I got the call, and so her and the kids came, and she kind of jokingly said, "Don't be too flattered. We came to watch Shane play."
Yeah, of course.
I was like, "Well, yeah, obviously, but you still got to see me too."
Yeah, my fiance, she was a trooper throughout college. She was in law school at the time, because I went to school through juniors, so
Mhm.
like I was older by the time I got to college. So we
Yep.
were around the same we're around the same age, and like she went to MSU for law school for a couple of years and would come to all the games. She actually went to one of our rival schools for her senior year, U of M Dearborn, and that was one of those rinks that was kind of a dump. Our team always struggled. I loved playing there.
Yep.
I loved playing U of M Dearborn for whatever reason. But
Yeah.
I mean, she came to a ton of games, and good for her because she's not a hockey fan. Like, she didn't grow up around hockey. She looks at me, she's like, "What are you like? Why?
Yeah.
Like, you want me to come to a men's? No, I'm not coming to a
Right.
men's
It's
league game." And like,
cold in there.
yeah, exactly. And I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Like, it's cold, it smells. I get it.
Yeah. At least for my wife, when she would go to my college games, our friends would be at those games
Yeah,
too, and there may or may not have been mixed drinks in those
of
red Solo
course.
cups.
Of course.
It was funny because our arena was right next to one of the dorms.
Hmm.
So at intermission, the rink would empty out because
Oh
everybody
yeah.
go into Benilde and get refills and then come back to the arena. Like everybody knew it was going on, but our campus was so small. We were nestled in the bluff. So
Right.
you walked campus. You didn't drive across campus.
Exactly.
So yeah, there was a little bit of, as long as you're behaving.
That was pretty much how it was like at Adrian too. And
Yeah.
so I mean, it was a blast. She sat with my family, went to a lot of games, so she sat with them a lot. My family drove all over the country to watch me sit on the bench. I mean, good for them.
Yep. Yeah.
But
My mom and
even
dad didn't get to come to too many of my college games, but when they did, yeah, there were quite a few of them where I was on the bench. And
exactly.
yeah, I remember it was one of the games at Gustavus. The coach, he goes, your parents are here. The other goalie's parents are here. And he looks at us both and he goes, you're splitting the game. It's not. He's like, it's just it's the only fair thing to do. You're both
Yeah.
playing because the other goalie, his parents came from California,
Oh wow.
and so he's like, they both traveled too far to watch you sit on the bench, and we were both
Hmm.
like, okay, fine by me.
Yeah, absolutely. My parents drove, like, so we played games in Delaware. They drove to Delaware. They drove to every one of my nationals for Adrian. So they saw me lose 1-0. I only played one nationals game at Adrian, lost 1-0.
Yeah,
So that
couldn't
was
get
unfortunate.
couldn't get that shutout.
No, absolutely not. Why would I have done that? That would have
Yeah.
been so against my character. I'm morally opposed to shutouts now. That's why I play beer league.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good segue. So you play beer league now,
Hmm.
as Kane Van Gate says, all roads lead to the beer league. You know, how long did it take you to get into the beer league? Because I know a lot of guys, there's usually a hiatus between college
Hmm.
and the beer leagues. And for me, it was purely because I got into coaching right away at the high school level and
Yep.
then had kids. So my hiatus was longer than I had anticipated, but it's not like I was away from the game or off the ice for the first 3 years. I was on the ice 6 days a week.
Yeah.
But then it was I had kids and I had to wait till they were old enough to where one parent could put them to bed instead of being
Exactly.
two. So
Yeah.
how did you dive right in, or how did that go?
So I kind of dove right in. I didn't want to stop playing like as much as I knew like the competitive side of it was over, and I was fine with that. I didn't want to stop playing. So I actually rolled right into a job with Future Pro Goalie School, the US portion run by Jeff Lerg.
Hmm.
And so I was doing that and then playing, and that was really like I was on the ice, 9 days a week. Like
Yeah.
I was always out there. But the team that I had originally planned on playing for didn't end up happening, didn't tell me until like a week before the season.
Oh,
So I started off like not having a team, and I got a text from a guy and was like, "Hey, can you sub down River in Trenton?" And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll come down. I'll play. I ended up playing the whole season for them. Lost in the championship with that team. That
Yeah.
was not fun. I was not happy. The competitiveness runs deep. So, when you lose, that hurt, even
Yeah.
if it is just men's league. And then from then, the next year, I decided that I was going to start my own team. And so that was where my YouTube team, the Seals, came in.
Hmm.
I decided that I wasn't getting new pads yet, and I didn't want to not match the team. So I just made them Adrian's colors, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wear these for a couple of more years, and ended up playing. So now we play in Farmington, has a tier 1 league about 15 minutes from my house, and me and a few of my buddies from juniors and a bunch of guys that I played against that were at U of M Dearborn, we all got together and made a team. And that first year with them, we ended up losing in the state final for our league by 1.
Oh,
And so I blame it on my one buddy who plays for 2 teams in the league, and he's the kind of guy that can't get on the ice enough
yeah.
still to this day. So we're going into it's the first day of the round robin. We're like, okay, Jay's already played, and he goes, I'm gonna go play for my other team on the other side. And I had told him earlier in the week, I'm like, dude, you have to pick a team because otherwise you're done for the tournament.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, it's fine, I'm gonna go play. And I'm like, okay. He goes over onto the other side, plays for about 5 minutes. The other team calls him out, and then he's off the ice, and like he's done for the week. And it's like, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like we told you.
Right.
So I like to blame it on him just because we blame everything on him and have since we were 15, 16. So
He's
he's
used to it.
always at fault. Yeah, he's always at fault. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So you mentioned your YouTube
Mhm.
team. So looking at the channel, it looks like it's had some evolution from,
Yes.
when you launched it to now, what was the original idea for the channel?
So the original idea for the channel was like a second part of my coaching.
Mhm.
When I was working at Future Pro, we would do a lot of lectures during our summer camps, and it was lecturing on like, NHL clips, teaching different things. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can carry this over to during the year, and I can take a clip down, I can break it down, and I can show people what these NHL players are doing, kind of like pro reads, only not
Yeah.
nearly as good.
Right.
and I'm like, you know what, I can do this. So I got the setup for the microphone, and I got everything ready on the iPad, and I started doing it, and it was a lot of fun. But then I stopped coaching. I ended up getting out of coaching, and I had run out of time when I was coaching to do it,
Yeah.
just because of the nature of how much I was on the ice. So I ended up, the channel kind of died down. And coming into this year, I was kind of like, you know what? Last year I was really abysmal in men's league. Like it was bad. I wasn't having fun. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get some GoPros. I'm gonna throw them up. I'm gonna record it, and like worst case scenario, you record yourself getting lit up and you have fun with it. Like
Yeah.
it makes it fun again, because now I'm not focusing so much on like I want to win, and we're playing in a league that has a bunch of ex pros and ex D1 college guys, and we're not that. So
Yep.
like we're not gonna win every week anymore. Like
And,
it
and
is
there,
what it is.
there's something fun to having that GoPro. At some point,
Oh yeah.
your team kind of realizes like, no, you're not trying to be, some YouTube star. It's just something fun. And sometimes there's saves, or even the ref will come and be like, I hope that GoPro caught that one.
Oh
Or,
yeah, absolutely.
or
For
there, there,
sure.
there was one at the beginning of the fall season. One of my teammates, God love him, he's our local fire chief, and he never played organized hockey.
Mm-hmm.
He is, and I say this affectionately to him because he knows it, he is an ankle bender.
Uh-huh.
He just looks it out there, but he has fantastic hockey sense.
Oh yeah.
I
Love
will
that.
take him on a 2-on-1 any day as my defenseman, because I don't know how he does it, but he always gets his stick in the right spot and breaks up the pass.
Mm-hmm.
We're down 1 goal. I get pulled, and it's a face-off just outside the offensive zone. and it goes right over to him, and he starts skating backwards, falls right back on his backside, legs up in the air. Other team gets it, skates down, no problem. And he goes, that better wind up in your video. And I go, normally I don't put our goals because I just have the one GoPro. It's
Yeah,
behind me,
absolutely.
so I zoom into it. It's nice and grainy.
Mhm.
And yep, I put that one in there, and it's the only time I've shared a link to a game highlight to the whole team.
That's
And
awesome.
and the chirps that went back and forth. And he's like, the next week he's like, you had to put that in there and send it out to the team, didn't you? And I said, you told me to. And he goes, yeah, I did. But it was like, yeah, those are the ones. Those are the reasons you have the GoPro up, though.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Uh,
so much fun. And
yeah,
like I always do like my intro clip for the games, and one of them was Jay missing a literally just wide open net. He gets the puck and he's behind the goalie, and instead of just like deflecting it in, he tries to one touch it and shoots it across the crease out the other side, and you can see him just react like, did I just do that? So like it's fun to just, you know, rib guys a little bit and just have fun with it. I kind of got the idea from like the way that I structure videos. I watch a lot of golf videos on YouTube. I'm a big
yep,
time golfer outside of hockey. And so this one guy, Mark Crossfield, does a lot of course vlogs. There's a lot of humor to it. Like it's a lot of them just like they chirp at each other the whole time. And
right.
then like they end up playing golf along the way, right? And so I want it to have that kind of feel. I'm still trying to get like a microphone setup and all that kind of stuff for myself, but it's fun, and I want
Yep,
it to be fun and to just like show like decent men's league hockey where you're just having fun, and like maybe I give up 7 goals this week and maybe the week after I make a roll over 2-pad stack save. You never know, but
yep.
it's fun to have it.
Yeah, well, I think that's where some of my highlights are kind of fun because I do play in old school style.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I do pull out the pad stack. I've been one
I
of these
love a
days.
pad
I'm
stack.
I'm going to do an old school skate save when I know I can pull it off
Yeah.
properly because I grew up. That's what I was taught in my early goalie
Uh-huh.
clinics
Uh-huh.
was the old school turn the skate over. And you've seen my equipment.
Oh yeah.
It fits the style too, so that
Oh,
helps.
it does.
Uh,
So I'm gonna make you feel real bad about this. My first pair of equipment, my first pair of pads were Vaughn Legacies.
they were, I
They were
can't say
phenomenal
word.
pads.
Yeah, they're amazing. You don't know how many times I get messages on different goalie groups about my glove, like
Oh
people wanting
yeah,
to buy it. That legacy glove. I mean, it comes with its own zip code. It's so darn huge.
it's huge.
Uh,
I had the Vaughn Legacy leg pads. That was my
yeah.
first set of leg pads, 30-inch black and white Vaughn Legacies, and I had these
Yep.
TPS gloves that had flames on them.
Oh
They're
yeah,
so
I
cool.
remember those TPS gloves.
That was where my love for the double T came from because it had a
Yep.
double T on there. It was stylish. But
Yes.
I
I'm a fan of the
I
double
love
T.
it. I love the old school. So like I grew up, mid 2000s. So like
Yep.
things were changing rapidly, right?
Yep.
I went to Future Pro when I was a kid, and that was kind of how I got hooked in with Future Pro for Lurg, and Dave DeSander was the other
Hmm.
guy who brought me in. And like I learned half pad saves, and like you learned how to do a 2-pad stack and recover, and then all of a sudden it wasn't there. And so I still have a lot of that in me, and I find that when I'm playing and having fun, I
Yep.
let that loose because like you never know. Like it could work and it throws something different at guys, and like a lot of the people, the younger guys, they've never seen it. So like
Yep.
I make a lot of one knee down saves and stuff where it's like, why did you do that? Well, you were shooting high glove the whole time. Like,
Yep.
why not just build a wall on the glove side, and then like you're not going to change your mind. So I made the save, right? Who cares how I did it?
Yeah. You probably, if you've said you've listened to the other episodes, you probably heard me tell the story of last summer. I was early for a beer league game, and there was a high
Mm-hmm.
school team getting out there, and I stacked the pads on this one kid who is, maybe 17 years old, and he just stopped. He's like, I've never seen that before. What do I do? And I look at him and go, you keep playing. The puck's not in the net. But it stopped him dead in his tracks. He's like, what did you just do? That's not what goalies do.
And that was one of the things when I was coaching too. I would, especially certain kids, I'd be like, look, you read the play well enough. You have the skill to do something else. I'm not going to tell you how to make a save. Do something else. If this works for you, then it works for you, right?
Yep.
Like you're stopping the puck. As long as you stop it and control it, I don't really care what it looks like, because you're doing your job still, right? Like that to me at the end of the day is what it should be about.
Well, my first goalie coach, he always told us, I'm not here to teach you the style of goaltending. I'm here to help you evolve your style. You do what you do, and we're going to make the adjustments to make sure you're good at it. And I wish more coaches had that same philosophy, because I think we'd see a lot better athletes if that were the case.
No, I agree. I had a coach, my first real goalie coach outside of, camps when I was like 13 years old. His name was Dennis Hartwig. We called him Red. He had red hair. So red hair like myself, great ginger friend. And he was an old school guy. He used to tell the story about how he lost his teeth to a puck. Like he was an eccentric guy, but he always talked about tools in a toolbox.
Yep.
So we would do lots of drills, and he'd have me do it different ways, because he'd be like, you need this tool for this situation, but sometimes you might need another tool. So we would always work on every different way to make a save in a situation, and just have more tools in your toolbox to use and to like have them for different situations.
Yeah, a perfect example of that. We were playing University of St. Thomas, who are now going Division I, because they were so good they got kicked out of our league after 100 years of being in the one of the founding members. They kicked them out because they were too good in all sports. But we're playing them. I get a 2-on-0. So guy with the puck's on my glove side, and I'm watching, and I'm still to this day very flexible. I can tell he's going to pass. He's not going to shoot. So I'm ready for it. I'm baiting him to pass.
Yeah.
And he passes, and I just split save over, stop it with my toe, boom. Later in the game, same two guys get another 2-on-0. And I'm like, I know in my head, I can do the same thing and try and stop the puck, but going to a different tool to throw them off, because I know they're now thinking, I got to lift this thing.
Yes.
This time I stacked the pads and took that top leg a little bit higher and caught it with the toe. And it was just knowing what was in my toolbox, and not just, this is the only way to make, stop a 2-on-0. It was
absolutely. That's if I'm sliding to a side and I think that they're going to elevate it, and I have a windmill addiction. I will come out as an addict for a windmill. If you go way back on my YouTube stuff, there's actually video of me playing juniors. And I mean, literally just the most routine glove saves would be followed by a vicious windmill. And it's hilarious to watch now, because it's shocking I haven't had shoulder surgery. but I mean, like I turn like this. So like every once in a while now I'll throw a 2-pad stack. Like you throw something different out there, and a lot of the times guys panic and they don't shoot. And then all of a sudden the puck's away. Right. And I love that adaptability. It's something about Vasilevsky and Quick, and like Price can do it. He just, up until this past playoff, like he didn't really a lot as much. And like these guys that can adapt to a play, and you talked about baiting on a 2-on-1. I do it on breakaways all the time.
Yes.
If I see a guy coming in, I will purposely put a knee down, and I'm like, I want you to go the other way, but I'm going to put the knee down so you think you are going to get it. And then I'm just going to slide over under control. And
if a guy's coming down on a breakaway from my glove side, I know they got to come back. So I always poke check, because as you mentioned, they're going to panic. Whether I get that puck or not, I've made the save, because they're not getting a shot off. Half the time they're worried about barreling into me. So they go over, they fall down, and the ref laughs and their whole team laughs.
Exactly.
it's like, although I did it last year, it was, I think it was the last game before the COVID shut down.
Hmm.
I was playing in the 3M league and beautiful poke check, get the puck first, never touched the guy, but he went over and slid hard into the boards.
Yeah.
And the ref comes up to me, they didn't do 2-minute penalties. It was just penalty shots in that league. And he goes, you didn't do anything wrong, but it looked bad. So I'm going to give him a penalty shot. And like, I'm standing there looking, I'm like, you just told me I did nothing wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never
Like,
gotten a
why?
penalty for doing this because I know the rule is I have to touch the puck first.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he goes, he went in hard. He was upset. And I said, he's upset because he
He
isn't a very
blew the
good skater.
breakaway like that.
Yeah. So, they let somebody else take it and
Mhm.
just ripped a shot. And you talk about windmills. I got it with the glove.
Oh yeah.
And, I had to embellish it just to kind of rub it in. Like, no, you're not going to get that. But yeah, sometimes it's baiting on the breakaways. I love doing that, or kind of cheating with one side to make them go.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I can pull out the split save. And what's funny is I've been playing in the same league for a number of years. We play the same teams every year.
Oh yeah.
They know I can do the splits, but they still keep going that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is it? Chico reaches 3 rules of goaltending: stick on the ice, body square to the puck, and 3 forwards are stupid.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
There's truth to that, and I apologize to any forwards listening, but it's true.
It is. You can't fight science. What can I say?
Yeah.
And I play with guys I've got a guy who shoots low blocker every shot.
Yep.
It's come to the point where I just put my blocker over my ankle and he hits my blocker, but he still shoots there. So like, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe try somewhere else next time.
Yeah, you're playing the law of averages. So when you're not playing hockey, as you've learned from listening to other episodes, I like to dig into a little bit about the person behind the mask. What do you do away from the rink to find some solace and
so
recharge?
I used to do a lot more drawing. I need to get back into that. It used to be just I was bored in school and I would draw, and now like you can't really do that at work. It's more frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
But I used to draw. I need to get a little bit back more into that. But I like video games. My buddies and I play cello a lot, so I have a lot of fun doing that. Maybe much to the chagrin of everybody in the house when I'm yelling, playing video games. And then I'm a huge golfer. After college, golf has become kind of like my competitive outlet, more or less. So I'm constantly, like, any chance I get, I'm trying to play. I go to this because obviously it's winter in Michigan. There's snow everywhere. So I go to the simulator a lot.
Yep.
We've got simulators around here that I go to. I have a lot of fun doing that. My brother plays, my dad plays. We got my mom into it recently, trying to get my fiance into it. She's getting hooked at the simulator, so that's a good start at least.
Yep. Yeah.
So
we went to Top Golf for my son's birthday last year, and me and my wife, none of us are golfers, but she was like, "Wow, that was kind of fun," and much better workout than I thought it would be. So I've only golfed a handful of times, but the first time I golfed, we were on a family trip to England during the Atlanta Olympics. And my grandmother was a war bride, so we had family over there. And my grandma's brother told me and my dad, he goes, we're going to get up early and we're going to go golfing in the birthplace of golf tomorrow. And I was 15 and I'm a smart ass. And I said, we're driving to Scotland in the morning. He didn't appreciate that.
No, of course not.
We went to the local municipal golf course and I shot, I think it was a 198.
But, you broke 200. That's the important part.
My uncle just kept keeping score because he wanted to see how high I would go. But as I've learned with golf, most of the time it's who you're with, not how well you're playing. And that's what made it awesome. It was me and my dad and my uncle, out on a municipal golf course in England and I was enough of a sports fan to understand how cool it was to play my first round over there. Even though the course, I've golfed much nicer courses since then.
Of course. I play a lot. I play a lot at a place called Northville Hills here. It's a really nice Arnold Palmer course. I've done a bunch of stuff up in northern Michigan. My family's got a cabin up there, so we'll go around there. I've been to Arizona and played.
Yeah.
My brother actually just finished Border Patrol training, and so he's stationed out in New Mexico.
Okay.
So I want to go out there and visit him and play. He got to play Scottsdale this past week with his girlfriend, so I'm really jealous of that. They were putting up the stand around 16, so he
Yeah.
sent me a picture from inside the stadium. So I'm a little bit jealous. I
That's
want to get
cool.
out there. That's one of my ideas. I'd love to. My dad actually works in Japan,
Oh, wow.
and so my parents had made. My dad started working in Japan right before my freshman year of college. He somehow made it back for like my senior night and everything, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But I mean, we go over and visit him a lot, and I want to take the clubs over and play in Japan. That'd be
Yeah.
really cool. And then I want to get trips going where I like just you go play random places with buddies. Like it sounds fun. Like I've got down to a 7.9. So I'm relatively decent. My brother hits the ball a mile past me and will never let me forget it because he's the younger brother. But it's just I love getting out and just playing, right? Like just
Yeah.
having a good time playing golf, seeing beautiful courses in new areas. It's fun. So I
Yep.
want to do more of that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking during the summer I might throw some of it on YouTube, depending on if I can make it work. I saw that the Goal Net just started his own like Instagram for golf,
Yep.
and so that's been cool to see that there's another goalie out there that's obsessed with golf the way that I am,
Yeah.
at least.
Hey, Grant Fuhr's obsessed with golf as
Mhm.
well, as is Kelly Rudy. So, I'm one of those rare goalies who just isn't good at it.
Yeah, maybe we should get in touch with the Goal Net and the In Goal guys and try and set up a massive online goalie golf outing.
That hey, you might be onto something there.
I think it'd be a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking to, I forget who I was talking to. Well, it's the guys that make Victory goalie masks. I think they're out of
Okay.
Michigan,
Mhm.
and they were talking about how they started doing some goalie camps for beer leaguers.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
beer, and they said that they were trying to put one on in Vegas. That would
Mhm.
be almost like a weekend experience where it wasn't just the goalie camp, but it was golf included. And they had talked to some former NHL goalies,
Mhm.
guys like Grant Fuhr, who they loved the idea to be part of it, almost like a pro-am, so that they could come out, you know,
Yeah,
it's
I'll
just
go. That
it's
sounds great.
just a bunch of guys in the locker room again. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
what level you played at. It's like, all right, we're talking hockey and golf, yeah,
that'd be fantastic. I would love to do that, and
yeah.
it's cool to like see the two worlds merge a little bit.
Yep, exactly. So you've listened to the podcast to know what's coming next.
Yep.
My 10 rapid fire questions. So what's the craziest coaching moment you've had during your playing days?
So my junior B coach with the Michigan Ice Dogs, his name is Tony Graham. Love him to death, but sometimes he was a little out there in his coaching ways. And so we went to a showcase in Indiana, and for whatever reason, this rink, every time I went there, it was bad.
Where in Indiana?
I don't remember, but it's the Fuels practice facility. It's
Okay.
like 3 rinks that are all joined, but there's no walls all the way through, and then
Oh,
there's a
okay.
big restaurant all the way across.
And I asked because when I was as my senior year of high school,
Mm-hmm.
this is the only away tournament we had my entire high school career. We went and played in a New Year's tournament in Indianapolis. Well, we
Yeah.
all got down there early, so we weren't driving New Year's Day, and a blizzard hit. We got 12 inches of snow in Indianapolis. In Chicago, we had 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
But in Indianapolis, it shut the town down. Like
Yeah, of course.
we're watching the crawl, and it's like such and such beauty parlor, this dog grooming, so and so's funeral, all canceled. Like the school
Yeah,
closings, there's
yeah.
stuff going on. And so, if our
The kind of
parents
stuff that us from northern climates laugh about.
yeah, well, and and for whatever reason, outside of like the Northwest Indiana where they get lake effect snow,
Mm-hmm.
they have white snow plows for the Indiana Department of Transportation. So we're all like, okay, you guys are idiots.
Yeah, you guys are
Um,
weird.
right. So, our parents could see the weather report. They're like, yeah, we're going to get a little bit of snow. So, we made sure we had a few four-wheel drive vehicles with us. And so they're looking at the clock, like, you guys got a 10 o'clock game. You got to be there an hour before. All right, we better leave now because it's a 10-minute drive to the rink. And it
Yeah.
was fun. It was like a car commercial. We're the only car on the freeway.
Yeah.
They're not plowed yet. And you could just see this snow drift coming up. And my dad goes, you guys ready for this? And because there's like four of us players in the car with all of our bags. And we're like, what? And it was in four-wheel drive. He just kind of drives right through the snowbank, goes
Yeah.
up and over the car, just like the commercials. But we get there and the rink attendants are like, we're a little bit behind schedule. We've only got one set of the refs here because this rink had two sheets. They
Uh-huh.
go, only one set of the refs have arrived yet. We're waiting for the second set to show up.
Oh my God.
Parents that shuffled us there, they're like, that's all right. We got to go back to the hotel anyway to get the rest of the parents. So
Exactly.
we'll come back. And they're like, yeah, we're probably 15 to 20 minutes behind. So they come back, it was probably, I don't know, 15, 20-minute drive.
Right.
And so that they come back with all the parents around time the game was supposed to start. The other refs hadn't arrived yet. And, so they start asking, well, where are these guys coming from? And they're like, well, they live like 2 miles away. At that, our dads got upset. They're like, are you kidding me? We've been to the hotel and back already in this.
Mhm.
They can get
Oh, yeah.
here. But it was just funny. And, but the main drag between Indianapolis and Chicago got shut down because it still hadn't been plowed like 2 days
Uh-huh.
later.
Uh-huh.
And we had school. And
Oh, yeah. So you've got to get back somehow.
We told our coach, we're like, you got to call the principal and call us all in for school tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so he gets on the phone and calls the principal. And he's like, the hockey team won't be in school tomorrow. We're snowed into Indianapolis. And the principal starts laughing. He goes, we were going to cancel it anyway because Chicago was pretty well cleaned up at that point, but there was still enough. But he starts laughing. He had to call the whole team in. So
That's awesome.
I apologize. I hijacked your story.
No, absolutely. That's we were at this rink in Indiana, and it's a showcase for the junior league. So like I'm going in amped. I'm like, okay, this is the time for me to show the scouts a little bit, right? I think 10 minutes in, I've given up 2 goals on 4 shots or something like that. My coach pulls me. He comes over to me and just lambastes me, just lets me have it. Like, I can't believe you're being this bad. Like, what are you doing out there? And then he tells me, next whistle, you're going back in. So I'm steaming now. Like I'm absolutely steaming. I cannot control myself. I'm like, okay, fine. I go onto the ice. I slam the door coming off the bench behind me and go in. And I think I promptly give up 3 more goals in the next like 10, 15 minutes of the game, get yanked. And like, that was the last time I was on the ice at that rink. I played there 3 times in college. Never once was actually starting that game. So like, I don't have good memories of that rink. Yeah. That was one of many interesting stories. If you've watched Letterkenny at all.
Yes.
So the coach in Letterkenny, that's pretty much this guy. I'm pretty sure the exact, the effing embarrassing kick the trash can stuff. Pretty sure that happened multiple times in my junior locker room. Like it was a wild time. I actually coached the guys. He coaches like his kids team now. I coached the goalies out there a little bit this year. He's a great guy, but like some of the things he did were just hilarious.
Yeah. So sometimes when guys become a coach, when they're behind the bench, they're just different people.
It changes, and it was funny because we're both guitar guys. I'm a big heavy metal fan. So I'm into like all sorts of stuff. And when I was scratched in juniors, like we would sit and we would talk guitar and music on the bench in warmups. Like we're air guitar soloing in warmups and like this. And then like that happens in a game and it's like, wow, that was different.
Yeah. I remember my first varsity start in high school. It's along the lines of the, shots just going in and getting
Mhm.
the talking to. Very first shot of my varsity career, puck goes in the net.
Oh
The
yeah.
ref comes up, and it's the first game of the year too. The ref comes up, pulls it out, and he looks at me and goes, "Well, you got that one out of the way. Let's have a good rest of the game."
I
It-
love that.
yeah, well, it was funny because it just lightened the mood, and I wound up
Mhm.
having a pretty good game after that. I was one of the 3 stars of the game, but it was just kind of like, well, you got that one out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Like,
well, it can only go up from here.
yeah, and it did. So next question is, what's your favorite all-time goalie mask?
Uh, it's got to be. There's a little bit of a tie here, so I've got to give a shout out to my own
Yeah,
from college because I rocked this for 3 years. We had the logo on the side, and I
yeah.
got to put in some snowflakes. I got like
Oh,
my
nice.
favorite band logos on there. I don't know if you
Yeah,
can see those.
yeah,
So like that's up there just because it's mine. Like
yeah,
it was just it's cool. I've got it displayed in the basement now. Like I loved the mask, and
yeah.
it came out perfectly from what I had drawn.
Right.
But NHL wise, Vernon for me with the wings,
You know,
just the simplicity of that mask. And I wish more Wings goalies would go that way with the winged wheel. Like
yeah,
it's a cool logo if you do it right.
yeah.
Like
I like that you mentioned that because I got to find it on the guy's Instagram account. He's fairly new. He's basically doing, old goalie masks from the
mhm.
90s, pencil sketches, and he did shovel devs. And,
Yeah.
again, I don't like the Wings, but when I think Detroit Red Wings goalie masks, I
Mhm.
think of Mike Vernon's because I think
Yep.
that is the best Red Wings one ever because
Oh, it so is.
it was so simple. It evoked the team without being over the top. And then the other one was just kind of the same, but it had the Corvette logo, which tied into
Mhm.
Detroit. I thought both of those were just so well done. But yeah,
Yeah,
Mike Vernon's.
it's so simple. It's a gorgeous mask. If I had ever played for the Wings like that, I would have done something along those lines. You throw the winged wheel on either side. You keep it simple. Like it just looks good.
Yeah,
I I would love to
it's
see guys put like just a winged wheel coming up this side.
yeah, it was just so simple and understated. But when you look at his Calgary mask too, with the simple
Mhm.
flames,
It was the same way.
yeah. Now,
And speaking of Calgary, Kipper is the other guy for me. The
yeah,
simplicity of that one, the white around the face, like
yeah, that
just
was a Miska paint job.
was
And
it?
yeah, and I actually interviewed him, gosh, close to 10 years ago.
Hmm.
I think it was 10 years ago for In Goal magazine when they were first
Yep.
starting. And I got to talk to him about, that because I love Miska's work because I'm a Belfour fan and,
Right,
you
right.
his later Eagle, not the original, but yeah, that was a Miska painting. And he's retired from painting masks with the exception of his sons because
Which
his
makes
son,
sense, you know.
yeah, his son's put in the Colorado organization now.
Hmm.
So
His new pads are phenomenal. They're
yeah,
gorgeous.
surprised to see him switch from Vaughn though.
I
That was
was
a
too.
shocker.
That
Um,
was I used to swear I would never switch from Vaughn. I wore Brian's my senior year, and actually, fun story. If you remember, there was an old graphic that Auntie Ranta wore in New York, and Darling wore in Chicago that had the swoops.
yep.
So my senior year, I went to Brian's. I had found that on the Goalie Guild's pads tracker. I sent it to him. I'm like, "Can you make this?" They made it, and then later that year, it turned out there was a goalie at BU that did it.
Yeah.
One of the women, and then Darling and Ranta did it. So I'm like, "Hey, I get to say that I wore a graphic before the
Before it
NHL
was,
guys."
yeah,
Like
that's awesome.
that is the coolest thing that I've done in hockey, probably.
Yeah. So we've talked about a few of the rinks you haven't enjoyed. What's your favorite rink to have played at?
Um, so Arrington for Adrian for me is probably like number one. I mean, I played there for 4 years. I have a ton of great memories there. I won some titles not on the rink, but with the team. Um, the bar above, they put in a video board my senior year. Like that's probably number one. But number 2 and number 3 are other college ranks. Yost in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in Plymouth, the Plymouth Association actually plays a lot out of Ann Arbor. It's half an hour away. Like we get ice there. So I practiced there a lot when it was before they had redone it. I've been back now that they've redone it. I used to go to games a lot there. That one's phenomenal. And then the new Goggin in Miami, because I went to the camps there.
Yep.
And the new Goggin is one of the most beautiful rinks I've ever been in. If I had played D1 college and I had been good enough to have my pick, those would have been the two schools I would have wanted.
Yep.
Just
It's funny you mentioned Yost. One of the kids I coached, I was a goalie coach, and then I worked with the defense for the JV team for a high school up here. In my first year, I really didn't have to do much with our starting varsity goalie, but he wanted to play for Michigan, to play at Yost. Well, he went and played juniors for a while, and then he wound up at Ohio State. And I just kind of laughed. It's like, you wanted to go to Michigan, but you wound up at Ohio State. He's now a teaching assistant for the Buckeyes. But I was like, you went to the arch rival, but you still got to play at Yost.
You got to play at Yost.
Yeah. It was just
the Yost student section is one of the coolest things. When you're at a game at Yost, that student section is one of the coolest things you could see.
Yep. Yeah. So I've heard great things about Yost. I haven't been there. If I get the chance, I'll jump at it. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to, if you get the chance. It is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, for when I was in college and whatnot, go for hockey, you couldn't get tickets because they were already sold out. And then the program kind of went down for a while. And now, just because of the way prices and everything else is, it's kind of sad to see. The program's good, but it's like a quarter full for Gopher games.
Yeah.
When COVID's not hitting, and it's just such a shame, because they used to have a storied student section and, the season ticket holders. And part of it is, to go, it's still $100 for a family of 4 to get in the door.
And that was why I grew up going to Plymouth Whalers games.
Yeah.
It was Friday nights. It was $10. My dad and I would go sit down behind the goalies and I would tell them what was going on, because you're 12, 13 years old, you think you know it all. So you start to I started to learn to read the play watching the Plymouth Whalers. It was cool, but that was the cheapest way for us to go to a game. We weren't going to the Joe all the time.
No, it was the same for us. We would go to Chicago Wolves games because they were affordable. So what was your favorite stick that you've used?
So I used to get these from the Don Simmons website. I would get Ryan Miller Buffalo Return Reebok sticks, natural with the curve on it.
Yeah.
Those were really great. I had some Sherwood 9950s that were good, but I'm going to be like Woodley. I'm going to go with the eFlex 4.
Okay.
I got a custom pack. I've got a buddy who is one of the CCM reps, and I got a custom pack. And let me tell you what, I love to play the puck. If you go through my Instagram, you'll see me trying to dangle forwards. I have a great time with it, but those sticks for playing the puck are phenomenal.
Yeah.
The flex that they have is so good.
I'm not very good at playing the puck, so I'm not sure that would be good for me. What's your favorite youth hockey memory?
So my first year playing, I had a shutout streak of 3 games in a row.
Yep.
One of them was at Yost, actually. And then we were playing in a tournament that weekend, and we played a game in between. So it was kind of funny. We played 2 tournament games. I got shutouts. We played at Yost. I got a shutout. The championship game, I lost the shutout streak, but we won. And it was at the rink that I actually ended up playing juniors at for the Ice Dogs, the Wayne County Civic Center. And they had it videotaped. So I have a VHS tape of me in my first year playing.
Oh, cool.
And that's such a cool memory because I can actually go back and watch it. And I've got my big glasses on and my little Vaughn Legacies. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's the best chirp you've heard on the ice?
I don't know if it counts as a chirp, but when I was in juniors, because of the red hair, guys they wanted me to say flame on, like the Human Torch. And I don't know why. So like before games, I would always yell like "Let's go" or something like that to get warm up started. And I went to the All-Star game for our our league, and we were doing a skills competition, and we had a shootout. And so I decided, you know what, this time I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna let loose. So the guy picks up the puck, and I yell "Flame on" it like as loud as I possibly can. The guy looks up, trips over the blue line, loses the puck. I like pick it up, and I've got the video on DVD, and all you can hear is my buddy just cackling on the bench. Like I remember looking up, and he's leaning back, dying laughing, and nobody else knows what's going on, right? I'm at a league-wide showcase. Everyone thinks I'm a complete moron because I just yelled "flame on" at a guy, but like that was one of the funniest things that happened in juniors. And it's not really a chirp, but like it made the guy fall, and I stopped the penalty
Yeah,
shot. So
those work. Those work. So what's the worst post game beer you've had?
I'm not really a beer drinker. I'm not gonna lie. I've got Pink Whitney over here. I'll have a little bit of that, but for me, like if I get forced to have a drink and it's like you give me something heavy, it's awful. Like I'll drink something like a Labatt or something like that after the game if we win a game and like I played well but don't give me something heavy. That's
No,
terrible. That's a
it's
bad idea.
I enjoy a good craft beer, especially the dark heavy beers.
Mm-hmm.
But a good cheap like Coors Light after a game is almost the perfect post game beer in my opinion. It's
It
just light, it goes down easy, and as long as it's cold, it's good.
Uh, Let me tell you what, it's not usually cold when we have it. It was usually because I run the team, so like I don't drink beer a lot, so I don't
Yeah.
set someone to be in charge of beer. So usually guys find a case that was in their bag and it's lukewarm and like, but you have it because it's there. So
Yeah, exactly. So when you tape your stick, do you go heel to toe or toe to heel?
heel to toe because I used to tape it like Hasek and Osgood, where you had to skip. It was Wah, Hasek, and Osgood. I used to alternate between those patterns. So like you'd have to go around the heel back. Like
Yep.
no one that started playing now knows what I'm talking about.
No,
But
I still do that.
yeah, exactly. So like I would have to skip around and go that way. And so I
Yep.
tape all the way to the toe, but I do the little run around and fold it down and then you tape that way.
Same here. Yeah, and I start at the heel because if you mess up that heel, you don't want to have to take all of that tape off. It's a
That
lot
would be
easier.
no, it's way easier to just go the other way.
Yeah. So what's your favorite number to wear when you're playing?
So I wear 92 now. My birth year, just it's something different. It's fun. I never really had a favorite number that I would wear. I started by wearing 33 after WA, which as a Detroit Red Wings fan, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say out loud. Um, I wore 30 in juniors because that was what I could have and
Yep.
what Osgood wore, so it worked for me. I
Yeah.
wore 30
Osgood is an underrated goaltender too, in my opinion.
Hall of Famer.
Yep.
I will fight this. I will fight this with anybody. If anybody wants to call me up,
Absolutely. I'm with you.
I will go at you 100%.
And I
Osgood's a Hall of Famer.
and I see Corey Crawford falling into the same discussion as Osgood, where he's just as good. If they're going to put Lundqvist in the Hall of Fame when Crawford has the same exact numbers in 3 cups.
Yes, and I used to hate Crawford because Wings fan at that time I
Yeah.
wasn't allowed to like him, right? But he falls in that same category to me. He's one of those guys that like he's a no doubt Hall of Famer if you don't attach his name to his numbers.
Yep. He's sneaky good.
Like Chris Osgood never missed the playoffs with any team he played for. Even when he was on the island and in St. Louis on bad teams, like he never missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but he didn't. So like number 30 for him, 34 for Kipper. I wore number 1 in college because it was the only number left when I made the team. And then I wore 34 for a bit a couple years ago, but 92 just because I wanted something different. And
Yep.
29 is a goalie number. So if you reverse it, it kind of counts, right?
Yeah, that works. So the last question, what advice do you have for young goalies?
Build your toolbox. Learn to read the play. Learn different ways to make a save. Like uh, there's something to be said for finding a way to stop a puck like Hasek did, who to me is the greatest of all time, like Vasi does now. Flower does it really well. Like all of these top tier goalies, Hank does it. Like they find a way to stop a puck that isn't in the rule book. Like you just find a way to make a save. I think that's
In the best drill for that is at the end of the practice, just playing some rebound.
oh yeah.
I loved playing rebound. You know, it's
I
like
play rebound in warm-ups now.
Yeah, we had our own rink, and we were the only ones that used it, and we only had the 2 men's teams and the 1 women's team that used it. So we had a little more downtime, and we would go out there in the middle of the day if we didn't have class and play rebound for hours. And it was funny because I was doing a photo shoot for Cab Sports. They have that 3D printed helmet, and they needed a goalie. And so there was a lot of downtime, and so we got to kind of poke around on the one end of the ice, and it's like, let's play rebound, guys.
Yeah,
it was like the first time I played in years, and it was like, oh my god, I forgot how fun this was.
It's so much fun. We legitimately play it for warm-up sometimes because like it's just fun. And I used to get on the ice, so we used to have dead ice for the start of our practice. I'd be the first one out there. I'd take breakaways for half an hour.
Yep.
Like first thing, it's 8:00 in the morning. I'm taking 30 break. Like it's fun, and it teaches you how to read guys' sticks, like bait guys, like just you find different ways to stop pucks, and it's just fun. Like that's the kind of stuff that I think goalies nowadays, when I'm still coaching, like I'm trying to teach them that. Oh yeah. Just find a way to stop a puck, find a way to have some fun with it. Like you'll be able to add structure later. You can add structure to your game. You can't add the instinct to stop a puck and read a play.
And the Ingles guys have been talking about that with the Russian goalies. They're noticing that they don't have that coaching right away, and that may be the difference. You know,
exactly.
You have to figure it out on your own before you're told how to do it.
Right, and like you find that the kids that find out how to do it first, there's some technique there already. Like they imitate what they see, so they're already going to know how to do the butterfly. They'll have figured out like how to play on their post. You might need to teach them stuff. But
you refine it.
Exactly. You're taking a stone and you're polishing it. You're not building a stone from nothing and then polishing it, right?
Exactly.
Like you're not trying to skip steps. You're letting natural technique and natural tendencies happen, and then you can determine what works for a goalie better, I find too.
Yep, absolutely. So last real question here is, where can listeners find you on social media?
So on social media, I am Goal Crease Guardian. On YouTube, also Goal Crease Guardian. And then on Twitter, it's M_Schnoes34. I'm not as exciting on Twitter, I'll be honest. I try and be more exciting on Instagram, and on YouTube is a lot of the stuff. So that's where they can find me. And I hope that people check it out and have a good time. Like I just want people to have fun with it. So
that's my whole goal with social media and the podcast, you know.
Exactly.
Me sharing my journey.
That's it, right? I want people to have fun and find a place to just watch hockey and enjoy the fact that there's something going on, and like chirp me, go on YouTube and tell me how bad I am. It's a good time. I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, I appreciate you joining me. We had some technical issues we worked through, so thanks for being understanding. And again, thank you.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Joe. It was a great time. I can't wait to hear it, and hopefully, I can come back sometime and we can continue our discussions.
That was a fun conversation with Matt, and I know we'll be chatting again. He had a few ideas for weeks when I may have trouble lining up other goalies to talk to, so stay tuned. You can find Matt on Instagram at Goal Crease Guardian, all one word, and search for him on YouTube under the same name. You can find him on YouTube at Matt_Schnoes, that's SCHNOES 34. There will be links for all three in the show notes. You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube simply by searching for Washed Up Goalie. I'll pop up. Visit washedupgoalie.com for some great hockey-related content, my beer league hockey video highlights when we're allowed to skate, and you can find all podcast episodes there as well. If you want some washed up goalie or Tendy Talk apparel, be sure to click the shop link on the website as well. I need to thank the band The Zambonis for allowing me to use their music on my podcast. You can download their music on iTunes or listen wherever you stream music. I'm working on lining up other goalies to talk to as well. If you are a goalie or have connections to a goalie who I should talk to, shoot me an email at washedupgoalie39@gmail.com or send me a DM on social media. Let's not forget, if you're a brand who wants to sponsor the show, be sure to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk. And finally, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment on the podcast platform you're listening on. It's a quick action on your part that helps others find Tendy Talk. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice and your body square to the puck.